Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. So today I'm going to go through how to film and edit a luxury watch video. In the description below you'll be able to see a link to the full commercial. So I shot this commercial roughly in about 90 minutes. We didn't have a lot of time. It was more of a run and gun setup. A lot of it was filmed on my gimbal using the Sony A7Siii, and I switched between my 24mm and my 35mm Sony prime lenses. So as you can see, my timeline is neat. I like to keep it clean. I don't like putting things everywhere. So I just like to have a few audio bars and a video sort of for sequences up top. But yeah, I like to keep my timeline clean, so it's just easier to manage and sort of maneuver around shots. So we start off with a close-up. So again, that's done on a 24mm. I want to start with the watch and then sort of tell a story of he switches on the engine of the car and then he's driving and then he meets his date. Close-up of that, cuts into this shot with the lights coming on. So I mounted a GoPro on this car. So just to get shots of like the wheels, some of the signage, and sort of make it a bit more immersive, I suppose. A bit more different from what I usually do. So it was a GoPro Hero 5 Black. And here you see as well, that's GoPro footage coming in here. I do a close-up of the watch. So do the notorious logo of the Rolls-Royce as well. And then here we get our model stepping out. Again, showing the watch. Nice detail shot. I got a bit lucky with this because I wasn't expecting this much sort of depth of field. Like I like what it's sort of captured here in the corners. This wasn't really planned. It wasn't planned in the sense of that it wasn't storyboarded. None of the shots were storyboarded. So I was literally just taking the camera. If I saw something I liked, I just press record and that's it. So none of the shots were storyboarded or planned beforehand. Literally, like I said, we only had 90 minutes to try get as many good shots as we can. And then we get the hero shot of the model stepping outside the car. And here I'll show you a bit of the color grading now. I think this is a good shot because obviously you can see skin tones and everything a bit more better. So what I do is, obviously there's different ways to color grade and whatnot, but I'm not a color grader myself. I'm not a colorist. Obviously I do basic color grading using LUTs. So all the exteriors of this footage was shot in S-Log3. Because it was getting a bit more late and the lighting was very different, I wasn't sure how the S-Log3 would be for the interiors. So I switched it back to picture profile 11 on my Sony A7S3. But all the exteriors, besides the GoPro footage, was shot in S-Log3. So as you can see, I've added a creative LUT. I'm sure you can use any to do this. And this is what it looks like without the LUT, as you can see. And then yeah, you apply the LUT and pretty much what you want to, take it up to what you like. And then obviously I've still made fine adjustments here to the saturation, a bit more contrast. I've crushed the blacks a little bit. And then I put up a bit of the vibrance as well. So each shot was manually color graded. So sometimes it's not as simple as this. It's not as simple as me putting a creative LUT in and then just dragging this intensity to the top. It doesn't always work like that. I mean, with this shot I was kind of lucky, but the rest of them, like, you have to make a bit more tweaks to get the right shot. And plus it depends on how you expose the video clip as well. So because I'm shooting in S-Log3, so I've shot 2 stops of exposure over. Because there wasn't much sunlight for this shoot and we had like a lot of clouds, it helped like sort of diffuse the light, so that made a difference. And also let me show you what it looks like with the film grain. So as you can see, that's the film grain applied. So you can see some of the texture over here and a bit on his face. And if I remove that, now you can see it looks very clean, it looks very sharp. I mean, there's no preference, there's no right and wrong. I just prefer a bit of film grain, a bit of texture, but there's no right and wrong. I mean, it looks great either way. But I wouldn't max it out, the film grain. So for example, if I maxed it out at 100%, that's what it would look like. It looks horrible. So I kept it at 22%. So believe it or not, we're filming obviously outside Atlantis, which is a shisha lounge and restaurant, and right next to it it's the Holiday Inn. and then there's a main road running on the other side, so it's not really a great exterior. So I filmed it in a particular way where you can't tell what the other surroundings are, but believe me, the surroundings around it looked terrible and it didn't obviously look luxury. So I just filmed it in a very particular way. I shot it against this sort of backdrop, as you can see now, and I mainly sort of kept it like that. So because if I showed you anything else, then you could just tell like it was just shot in a car park. But obviously looking at this shot, you can't really see that. Just because you're not in the best of environments, you've just got to figure out ways to make that content look the best it possibly can. And obviously having a good eye for things really helps. So let's just crack on with this. So gimbal shot there. So this is another gimbal shot. Now this comes the interior. So like I said, I shot this on the picture profile 11, PP11 on this one. Simply because I didn't know what, I don't know, I wasn't feeling the S-Log for the interior, especially because the light conditions weren't great and I didn't know how it would come out in post. So I wanted to play it safe. So I think it's hard to tell whether I did use S-Log 3 or PP11 here. As you can see, when I close up, so it's hard to tell. So I saw this sort of framing. I thought, okay, let's get him here, let him walk through these doors. So this restaurant is filled with many people. So again, I was just trying to avoid filming people in the backdrop as well. I just really wanted to focus on my key characters. He walks in. Let me come here. So I've got a nice close-up of him there. So now I introduced the girl, but before I did that, you know, I wanted to get a nice close-up of her watch and her just chilling, having a drink as well. So you see the close-ups. And then again, I'm building up, getting the model to walk towards her. So I wanted to get obviously where we were filming, their sign, their logo as well in the backdrop, and it looks really nice saying Atlantis there. And that's when our two sort of characters meet. So again, we wanted to keep it slick and charming. They wanted it to look elegant, luxury. You got the close-ups. And these shots here were filmed with my 35mm 1.8 lens. This was all filmed with natural light, or light being used within the interior itself. I didn't set up no external lights. I did bring with me a few LED lights, but because we had to shoot this in 90 minutes, I didn't really have time to move around the lights and everything, especially because I was the only one filming and I didn't have no assistants. So it was just pretty much just finding a good backdrop, finding where the lighting looks the best, and just pick up the camera and frame up and shoot, literally. And you know, I like this backdrop here, so I positioned them in a certain place in the bar where the backdrop will look the best. So I wanted obviously a bit of that blue as you see on the right, and I noticed that they had some nice sort of lights in the backdrop. So I wanted that bokeh to look nice and creamy when I shoot on like 1.8 or 2.8. All of this was shot in 50 frames per second. I did do some shots earlier in 120 frames per second, but I don't know, I wasn't really feeling them, so everything else was done in 50 frames per second. And yeah, got them outside. Again, lighting was terrible. It was dark now. It's great that Sony A7Siii is good under low light. And yeah, I was just trying to use just the light around the ambience just to set up some, you know, just to make sure that the faces were well lit. Close-ups there. And yeah, just trying to get some nice close-up details of them now going away. And just again, like trying not to get too much of this stuff in there. As you can see, there's somebody's cars parked here. I didn't really like that, but what can you do? And then there was a main road, as I said, just over here. And on the other side, there's the Holiday Inn and its car park. So the surroundings weren't good. So again, this was all gimbal, 35mm. And then the final shot, the client really wanted a shot of the main actor looking back. And they wanted obviously the fairy lights at the top as well. So this one was shot in 24mm. I think I must have shot on the focal length of like 1.8. I could have done 1.4 actually, but no, I chose 1.8. Maybe because it's a bit more sharper. But it literally just finishes on that shot. And as you can see in the backdrop there, I think there's a petrol pump there. That's the Holiday Inn. So it was important just to get that as much depth of field as possible, so it doesn't sort of look like that those are the surroundings. But I say, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I shot this sort of luxury watch commercial in 90 minutes with sort of poor surroundings in the exteriors. But I was lucky, obviously the interior was really nice, and obviously the models were great, so we managed to, obviously they had a great screen presence, so we managed to get actually good content, and the color grading and everything helped. I edited the video to the music, which again I enjoy doing. And the other thing I don't really do is I don't use too many speed ramps or trying to add tons and tons of effects. I come from a filmmaking background. I like narrative stories. I like to just let the shot run, keep everything smooth. I'm sure obviously I will be using speed ramps for certain things and certain commercials, but this one in particular I didn't feel like it needed it. It just needed something like smooth and clean, something elegant. Anyway, I think this video has run long enough. I hope this helps. Obviously, if there's anything else that you want to know, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. It would help and support me. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you in the next one.